Hello, hello. I am Daria Burke, Chief Marketing Officer at JustFab, and this is Leading with Style, where we get to talk to culture-changing women who are shaping our world. And there is no one more fitting to be talking to today. Deepica Mutyala is, in fact, turning the beauty industry on its head, and I am so excited to have her as a part of our Leading with Style series. But fun fact, Deepica and I actually met a little over a year ago when we both had the pleasure of sitting together on a panel at Create and Cultivate. And I knew we were meant to work together because about 2 months prior, I had just joined my role at JustFab and was invited to speak at Create and Cultivate, and I learned that Deepica was on the panel with me, and I was like, yes, this is just the beginning, and now I get to convince her to partner with us as a brand. And she was everything in person that I knew her to be virtually, and just being a fan of her work. And following her, I was so struck by how magnetic she was, how joyful, how much energy. And so even though we're doing this virtually, which makes me a little bit sad, I am in no doubt that you're going to be just as taken with her as I am. And I am so thrilled, Deepica, and just want to say a huge thank you for partnering with us and really saying yes to this opportunity.
Thank you so much. By the way, this is my first brand collab ever. I've never done one of these before. Yeah, I know. And it felt so fitting because literally that memory you just shared is exactly what felt right when this opportunity came up. I was like, you know what? This just feels right. Daria and I met and we said we were going to work together. We had to make it happen. And here we are. And I couldn't be more proud to work with JustFab and the collection we put together.
I am so excited. First of all, I didn't know that we were the first, so I feel that much more honored, and my team is going to be so thrilled to know that too. So first things first, you're in Houston now. You recently moved back home, and we were scheduled to shoot this a few weeks ago, right before this big snowstorm devastated Texas. So I just have to start with, how are you doing? How is everyone doing?
Thank you for asking. I mean, it was wild. The power went out at my place. I went to a cousin's place. Power went out at my cousin's place. I went to my parents' place. It was just so surreal, but I feel very grateful that, I got through it, and I'm here in Houston where my family is. So when things like that happen, it's only another reminder of life is wild. Where do you want to be to spend that time? And so it feels really good to be back in Houston.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, especially at a time like this. And, I think it was sort of one of the things that I was curious about when you made the decision to leave Los Angeles, and you sort of addressed that, just wanting to be closer to family. Was so much of that sort of predicated on the pandemic, and what really inspired that shift for you?
Yeah, I think living in New York for 5 years and then going to LA for 3 years, I saw myself never leaving LA. But yeah, totally, when the pandemic happened, I have a nephew, he's here, and it was like we were working from home, and there was just no real reason to still be in LA, because I always justified the cities I moved to was always based on professional decisions. And then it got to a place where, boom, the world flips upside down, and I'm sitting here thinking about, what is this all for if I don't get to spend it and enjoy my life closer to my loved ones? So I'm not saying I'll be here forever and ever. Who knows? I never expected to come back to Texas. I grew up here, but it feels really right for right now.
For sure. And obviously family is important, and which kind of leads me into something else that we both care very deeply about. At JustFab, we focus so much on and care so much about inclusivity and community, and we just believe so deeply that everyone deserves to feel like they belong, have that sense of belonging. And honestly, it's for this reason that it was really important to me that we partner with you, because these are all values that live at the center of the Live Tinted movement too. So I would just love for you to share, for the uninitiated, how did you come to the decision to create Live Tinted?
Yeah, so I mean, literally, it's very full circle being back in Texas, because I remember being 16 years old and going down makeup aisles and never seeing myself reflected, both in the products and the campaigns that were around me. To the point where I literally dyed my hair blonde. I got blue contacts. I wanted to look like what I saw in the beauty campaigns. And so I told myself at very young age, my parents say it was around 15, 16, that I was gonna start my own beauty brand one day and change this narrative for people. And What I didn't know is that when I did launch this brand, instead of it being called like Deep Beauty and having it be, my personal narrative only, we started it as a community platform. And that, honestly, Daria, is just from experiencing the beauty industry for the last 10 years and recognizing that there was just a need for this home, this hub that people could come to and see themselves reflected and share their stories and faces that you don't traditionally see the beauty industry talking about. And I guess I just fundamentally believe that the more that we understand each other and are educated from each other, the more we're going to be able to grow and be a society that I think is more kind. And so I didn't have that growing up. I felt like I had so much anger, to be honest, towards the people around me. And I changed so much about myself physically, and honestly, it affected me emotionally and mentally. My whole goal with Live Tinted is to make it so this next generation of people grow up and embrace their identity and culture and who they are in like every shape and form. So when we launched Live Tinted, instead of launching it just as a beauty brand, I wanted to start it as a community. And the coolest part about that was it organically grew and made me realize that this is actually more far-reaching than I had expected. And it just feels so incredible. And now the cool part is, now that we're a beauty brand with IRL products, this community is our focus group. We're growing with them, we're listening to them, and we build with them too, and learn from them also, which is so awesome. And I'm really, really proud. So yeah, when this opportunity came up with JustFab, I know how important inclusivity is to you guys also. So it just felt very synergistic to do this.
I love that you mentioned kindness as a part of your posture as a company. I think so much about this new standard of beauty that is being established. And I think so much of that is a function of movements and companies and brands like Live Tinted, and obviously, hopefully, JustFab as well, and being a part of a sea change of what it means to represent diversity, to really live inclusivity, to show what we mean when we say that everyone deserves to look and feel their best. And so, I'm curious to get your thoughts on how you see beauty standards evolving as more young women, as women of color, as you really continue to push through this industry and make the changes that you're making.
I mean, it's just so exciting. I get like fueled and energized just even thinking about where we are now versus where we were when I was growing up. And so many people, you can look at this as half glass full or half empty. And if you look at it as half full, it's like, this is incredible strides happening right now. And I can see, I look at my nieces and nephews that are growing up now, they see themselves, and that goes far. Which is why, by the way, again, the collection being called the Be Seen collection was so perfect. And it felt just right because there's nothing more important than people feeling like they're seen.
Absolutely. So you and I both started our beauty careers at L'Oreal. Mine was quite a bit longer than 10 years ago, but we share that in common. And I'm really interested, especially now that you're the CEO of your own company. What do you feel like you really learned at L'Oreal that you bring to how you think about building a beauty brand and a beauty business?
Oh man, I learned so much. L'Oreal rejected me after my first internship with them, and I find it to be very full circle because I've been now in a L'Oreal commercial. And when they did reject me, the recruiter told me that I wasn't a strong enough of a marketer. And LOL. Is what I have to say to that. And so to me, a big lesson that is probably not expected to say what I would have learned at L'Oreal is actually rejection is redirection. And I think that phrase is something I've lived even just last week. Being an entrepreneur, man, it is one of these. You have the highest highs and lowest lows. Sometimes like in the same day, not even the same day, in the same hour, you'll get this incredible customer review, and then you're going through, investor negotiations and things like that, and it brings you back to other places. And you constantly are reminded that everything happens for a reason, and these things were all set to create a better path for you. And so that rejection actually led me to go work at a beauty startup called Birchbox. And that's where I created a video that ended up going viral and changed my life forever. And I don't know where I would have been if I was going the traditional corporate route at L'Oreal. I probably would have gone to Harvard Business School and made my parents really happy, and who knows, but I'm really grateful for the journey that I went down. And I think if, it's always hindsight, you recognize these things. But at that time, I was broken. I was like, what? Like, I'm meant to be a L'Oreal executive. That's what I'm doing. And when that happened, it took me down a different path, but the right path for me.
Let's talk about that, because you actually have a really interesting sort of balance that you have to strike between being a CEO, right, and a leader of a company, and being a public figure. And you've been incredibly generous and willing to share so much about your life. In fact, most recently, you've taken a lot of us on the journey that you've been on in fertility and thinking about, what it means to ready yourself or have the option to expand and create a family by freezing your eggs. How do you think about that tension between sort of the public figure side of you and, the side of you that has to lead a team and manage a business?
Ooh, I think about that every day, if I'm being totally honest and transparent. And the reality is, especially with cancel culture these days, I went through a phase of fear of what I posted. I was scared that anything I put on the internet would get torn apart and my intentions would never be seen as pure when I know that they are. And I was really scared for a really long time. And then when I took a step back and really did some soul searching and reflecting, I was like, you know what, Deeps, like the same way that you were taking a different path than you expected on your career, there's a different personal path in life that you're taking than what, my immigrant parents from India expected me to be doing. They expected me to be a doctor, to get married by this age, have kids now, if not like a year ago. And I knew my path was different, and I have to tell myself that that's for a reason. And I think there's a lot of cultural taboos that need to be changed, and this next generation needs to experience those changes. And I just feel like when I think about when it's all said and done, what was my purpose? And if it means that me sharing my story could help like one other human out there be like, I'm not alone, or recognize that they can go through it, I just feel like it's worth it. And if it's at the expense of people judging me or saying what they want to say online, they can. And luckily, I feel like I'm finally at a place of confidence with myself and surrounded by, again, being at home with my family. I'm like, you know what? They support me. My friends support me. I know who I am at my core, and so I'm gonna lead with positive intent, and hopefully the world recognizes that that's what I'm trying to do. But I will tell you, what is really hard is switching back and forth between, like, even today on set, right, shooting this, I'm like doing the BTS and doing the photos, and in between those, I'm answering emails. We're literally going through fundraising right now, retailer conversations, hiring senior leaders in the company. As a CEO, that doesn't slow down. So, I'm working on this thing called sleeping. It's not really going well, but I have faith that, like, again, there's chapters for everything in life. You can't have everything in life at once, but I do believe you can have them in seasons at a time. And so I feel like right now I'm in a period of work really, really hard. And then I have to give myself some balance and then focus again back to my personal life. So, it's this back and forth that I'm sure you feel too, being a woman, a powerful woman, that like we have to be unapologetically kind of regimented with our time, because time is finite. You can't get it back, and it is so precious. So that's what I've really been trying to focus on, but every day I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, I love that, because honestly, it is not easy, and it's not a straight line. Ursula Burns, who's the former CEO of Xerox, said a long time ago, I heard her say that she believes that women can have it all on average over time, right? And so not all at once. And so there are these different seasons that we all sort of have to go through, and you do figure it out. But yes, you do also have to be incredibly specific about and intentional about how you use your time. And I try to tell myself and my team, manage your energy, not the information. Manage your energy, not the calendar or the time, because that's really all you can focus on, because it's all going to move anyway. It's true. Even doing something like this was a little bit initially for me personally, not scary so much as just, what is this going to be like? And at JustFab, we really believe that more voices need to be heard, right? It's why we created this series. It's why it's important for you to share your personal stories as much as you talk about the professional side. But we do have a lot of sort of images of what leadership is supposed to look like, or what the posture of a leader looks like, and what a leader does and doesn't do. And so much of that is predicated on, men who don't look like us and are a different generation. So we are changing the rules and rewriting what it looks like. And I want to thank you for being such a public example for young women of what leadership looks like today and what it's going to look like in the future.
I'm literally figuring it out every single day. And I think it's important for people out there and young women to hear that, because it's kind of scary thinking like, what does it mean to be a CEO? It's okay if you're figuring it out as you go, as long as you're willing to learn. And I think like at the end of the day, I'm very transparent with my team, and I tell them what my strengths and weaknesses are, and then I'm trying to hire against those weaknesses and figure it out as I go. And I think that that's important. So I think sometimes when I see Instagram quotes about what it's like to be a CEO and stuff, it gets a little intimidating. And I just want anyone out there who wants to have a C-suite position one day, and I hope you do, that just know that you can figure it out and you can do it. Literally, if Daria and I can be in a C-suite position, so can you. Like, we went for it.
That's right. And I think it's just important for women to see the range of what that looks like. So let's talk a little bit about fashion, because it's something that we also really love. And you talked a little bit about this in terms of the Be Seen collection and just how important it is. I'm also really excited, though, that we are including in our collection your My Skin Is Not a Trend sweatshirt, which is so exciting for all of our VIPs. Tell me about this sweatshirt and this mantra and why it's so important to you.
Going back to like what I thought this brand would be versus where it is now, I always knew that it was going to be something that changed the narrative for people who didn't see themselves reflected. That was always what I wanted since I was 16. But after being on the corporate side of the beauty industry and then being a beauty public influencer, human, whatever they're calling it these days, after going through that, I realized I was being tokenized in so many different ways, and I had so much just fuel in me to change that narrative for, again, the future. And so listen, at the end of the day, there being a token brown girl, that wasn't even a thing when we were growing up. So it's like, no. Like what? No, not at all. So the fact that that was even happening was a step forward, but I still felt like the inclusivity is not a trend. My skin tone isn't a trend. And I think what was so great about this mantra is that it actually like brought people together from all different backgrounds. And I think that's what it means to live tinted. It's actually about not just embracing your own identity and culture, but other people's. And so this mantra has kind of brought people together from all different backgrounds, really around this idea of colorism, which is something that I've experienced my whole life. My mom had a bleach bottle on our counter in our bathrooms, and I was told that fair was always considered the most beautiful. And so just kind of creating a mantra that could bring people together around something we've kind of all experienced growing up has really created a community and made me even feel like I wasn't alone. And so it's been really dope to see it grow and how much people are sporting it, and from, again, all different cultural backgrounds. It just makes you see that we actually have a lot more in common than we realize, and we need to tell our stories to be able to realize that.
Yeah, well, I cannot wait for everybody to get to wear it, because it is really dope. It's a great color. It's a great top. It's a great fit. So well done. When I think about your fashion style, I love that the joy and the energy of your personality and who you are is always so well translated into your fashion, into your styling choices. How do you think about, how you sort of get dressed and how you pull it all together? What kind of goes through your mind as you're going through that process?
I think it's a combination of comfort meets class. I didn't even think about that. That just came to me, but that's how I actually feel about it. It's like, I'm not going to be the girl who's wearing 5-inch stilettos every single day, but there are days that I want to put it on and feel great about myself. But for the most part, I'm a block heel mood kind of gal. And you can see that same kind of style translate into my fashion and the clothes that I wear too. So whether I'm wearing a maxi dress, I typically like to wear it with a block heel because it's comfortable and it just dresses it up a little, but not going overboard with like a super thin, long heel. And in terms of colors too, nothing makes me feel more joyful than wearing color. Like this suit, I wanted to purposely wear it for the interview because I feel like it brings out like the inner radiance, and I also love it on skin tones like yourself and mine. And so I used to be very all about blacks, and I still like it for, you know, maybe when I'm traveling, but the whole theme of this collection is we are multi-dimensional. We have different moods. We have different lives that we live throughout the day, literally within the same day. And I wanted that to come through in the collection.
So we're not supposed to play favorites, but I've got to ask, what is your favorite shoe in the Be Seen collection? Do you have a favorite?
I absolutely have a favorite. I'm wearing it right now. I don't know if this is weird, but I'm going to show y'all. It's this one.
Show it.
This is the one that I'm obsessed with, but the one in black is my favorite because that goes with everything. Like you could dress up sweats, you could wear it with a dress. I'm wearing it with a suit right now, and I love that. I love anything you can take day to night. Like you could wear it to work, but you could also wear it to a date, you know?
For sure, and I love how you styled it. So that's one of my favorites too, but I love how you styled it. And I didn't think to put that together, so now I'm totally gonna do it. So before we wrap this interview, we always end with the same question. What is the best advice a woman you admire has given to you?
So the best advice that I've received that is actually, it's very, very pertinent to my life right now, because again, there's so many big business decisions happening, and I just went through, you know, my personal life egg freezing journey and all of that. To stay laser focused and recognize that your journey is only your journey and no one else's. And I think it's important to remember that because you can't help but get lost in the social media world that you see today. It's impossible to not, and I would be lying if I said that I didn't sometimes see things and say, I need to move quicker, faster. It's just the ambitious girl in me. Like I'm always thinking about how I could do more. And I have to remember, I have to go back to that 16-year-old girl who had a dream, and that I'm living out that dream. And if that journey takes a certain path, because I chose to build it out as a community, so it takes a little longer for XYZ products to release because I chose to build it this way, that is okay. And it's actually not just okay, it's incredible because it's my own unique journey and my own path. And so as things are happening in my day-to-day life, I have to always remember to stay focused and true to my journey, my path, my purpose, and that's what matters, period. And so I just encourage people out there to really think about what it is that they think their purpose is, their path, and stay focused on that, and try not to get lost because it's so easy to. And yeah, that's what I would say.
That is sound advice. You have to block out the noise and sort of have those blinders on. I think that is so true. And by the way, no one is looking at your journey and thinking, she's moving too slow. So I don't think that there is ever a risk. But I know what you're saying. It's like how you feel sometimes. And it is that feedback from the world. But by any account, you are an incredible inspiration and just such a fabulous, amazing young woman, leader, and somebody who I truly admire. So I just want to thank you so much for this conversation and for partnering with us. I cannot wait for women to be seen in your JustFab collection. And I want to thank everyone else for tuning in. We will be back in May with another amazing woman who is leading with style. Thank you.